Remember Sweet About Me? Gabriella Cilmi was just 16 when that became a huge international hit. Nearly 2 decades later, making music feels very different. On this episode of the MarshyCast, I'm catching up with the Australian singer-songwriter Gabriella Cilmi to talk about her new album Pure Love. We revisit the last time we met at Victorious Festival, including whether she remembers the Australian TV children's show that I asked her about, and talk about what's changed in the way she writes and records her music. Gabriella also tells me about the new singles, stepping out onto her own UK headline tour after some brilliant support slots, and how she looks back on the 16-year-old who released Sweet About Me. And finally, if Gabriella could permanently remove one household chore from her life, which one would be disappearing? It's Paul Marsh, and I'm delighted to say that I've been joined by Gabriella Cilmi. Gabriella, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Really, really good, thank you. Now, I have absolutely no idea if you will remember this or not, but the last time we spoke was a couple of years ago at Victorious Festival. I asked you what your favourite children's TV show was. Somehow, we ended up talking about Pugwall, an Australian show that apparently all the Brits remember, but none of the Australians do.
Yes, that's right. No, I don't. I still don't know what it is.
Well, I've been thinking about this. I'm mid-40s, and I think you're mid-30s, aren't you?
Yes.
So
yes,
you're
nearly
10 years behind, so it may not have been a thing at all. And it may not have been a thing anyway, but it certainly may not have been a thing when you were watching children's TV.
No, I don't think I remember that one. Sometimes there are things that were like big in the UK but weren't big in Australia. That kind of
Yes, very much
thing.
so. I think Pugwall and Pugwall Summer was definitely one of those. Anyway, listen, let's talk about your music. We playlisted Pure Love here at Express, and now we have got Why Are You Hanging Around? Does it feel different putting out music at this stage of your career compared to when you were first releasing records?
Yeah, I mean, completely different. I'm kind of in a different headspace, so I guess that's different. And also the way that people consume music's completely different. Things like streaming, that just wasn't a thing, especially, when I released my first record. Even my second record, I don't think streaming was really a thing. So, a lot has changed. Um, and, my approach to making music has changed too. So.
I was going to ask you that, with the change that you've seen, has it changed the way you write, the way you release music?
The way that I made this record was for the most part really analog. So we recorded, to tape, and even, there's one version of the record that's completely analog the whole way through. So, no computers were really involved until the final stage. Um, to cut a long story short. So it's almost like I'm doing the reverse.
But
I
is it
think.
nice to get back to that?
I think so. I think, there was something about the way we recorded this process where, we weren't just stuck in front of a computer. You don't have the ability to cut, copy and paste, chop and change so much. So you have to, you have that real human element is, it's really inbuilt in it. A mate of mine said it was like the record sounds like eating a crusty homemade loaf of bread, and I think that's kind of how it sounds. I really like that analogy, but yeah, it's the human touch is really strong.
I always think that music is better when it's imperfect.
I think so, and I think, especially in the age of AI, which has its benefits. I just think now, I mean, there was an AI song that's like in the top 10
Yep.
at the moment, and
Hmm.
I think it takes away from all the work that that musicians and artists put into making a record, and not to mention that AI is learning and taking all of this information, people's hard-earned hours and making a song out of it, and it's kind of unfair. But yeah, nothing beats the human touch, I think.
We're
Yeah.
talking of that. You've said that Why Are You Hanging Around came from realizing that you spent too long waiting for other people's approval. Was there a moment where you thought, hang on, why am I even waiting for permission?
Yeah, I think so. It was kind of that moment. I guess I was just kind of, you get to a point where you become kind of fed up and then you realize you're stuck and then you realize, you know, you're kind of your own worst enemy, putting your destiny in somebody else's hands. Which is kind of what I was doing, and I was so used to, I think, people pleasing and waiting for people's approval, that stopped me from getting things done. But I do believe in, like, you know, it might sound cheesy. I do believe in divine timing and things happen, when they're supposed to. So, I think this record did happen, yeah, when it was supposed to happen.
Well, the album is called Pure Love. Is there a connection between the idea of trusting yourself and what pure love actually means to you?
Yeah, I think, pure love is the energy that, like, surrounded the whole record. When I made it, it was such a different experience to anything that I'd ever recorded before. We recorded it, on a farm in Devon, at a studio called Middle Farm, and the musicians that played, everyone was cooking for each other, and then we'd go and record a song, and even when moments got tough, it just felt like it. I was connecting with that version of myself that fell in love with music to begin with, when it wasn't tainted by all the other things that come with, you know, being in the public eye, or being really young in the industry. And I think, that's why it felt pure.
Do you think that you could have made the album in the middle of London, or do you think that isolation was really, really important?
I think the isolation was important. I stayed in a cabin, without electricity, so you had to do, like, outdoor wheeze, and it was a full moon, so that was our light, kind of thing, um, and it was just, yeah, really bright in the sky, and just the fresh air, the homemade food. You didn't have to. I mean, there's a beauty about making music in London too. And the funny thing is, like, sometimes records that sound really pastoral. I think I'm going off on, like, a tangent now, but Cat Stevens, he wrote a lot of his records in London, which is crazy. It sounds like they were written on a
Yeah,
farm.
yeah.
But I guess a lot of the my songs were written in London but recorded on a farm. And I think just having that clarity, that real clarity and space, just really helped me focus and grounded the record.
Now, I'm sure I'm not the first person to ask you this, but if the
Mm.
16-year-old Gabriella who released Sweet About Me could hear Pure Love, what do you think that she would make of the artist that you've become?
Well, yeah, that was a question that I asked myself while I was making the record, and really the key to unlocking the the sound and all of the tracks. And this is the record. I think it just makes sense to her that she would make this record. It's so innately something that she would create and perform. So I think, yeah, yeah,
I think if you can look at what you've done and look at where you've been and everything else like that, and be proud of where you are and the music you're creating, I think that's a massive thing.
yeah. And I think a lot of people, they'll say, oh, in a child work, communicating with your inner child, they say, oh, no, it's a bit cheesy, but there's really something to it, and
Yeah.
that really was that moment that helped shape the record. And it was like my guiding. She was like my North Star, I guess.
I love that. Now, you have been out on the road. You've been out with Beverly Knight. You've been out with The Cause. And now you have got your own UK headline tour coming up in November. What
Yes.
changes when it's your name above the door and everyone else is coming to see you?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think there's a lot more. Well, it kind of feels like a homecoming as well, because it's like people who want to see your music, and hopefully have a connection to it. And this record was made to be performed. That's the environment that this record was kind of built for, and how it was made. A bunch of musicians coming together and making a record in that pure sense. So it's kind of its natural habitat to be out on the road.
Do you obviously we are sort of just leaving festival season. We mentioned Victorious at the start of the interview. Um,
Yeah.
what changes from festivals to your own show? Because again, I know the support slots are a little bit like playing a festival where you play all of your biggest hits because you've probably got 5 or 6 songs to try and win some new fans. So what
Yeah.
changes when it's your own show?
When it's your own show, you just have your own, I guess, the ability to curate, how you want. And it's weird. I wouldn't say you're more relaxed because there's almost more pressure because it's like you at the top of the bill. So you can't, um, yeah, I no, I think there's almost more pressure on your own chase. But it's also more exciting at the same time. It kind of it means more in a way. Because the people, are probably people who've been loyal to you, or they're just discovering your music and they spent their hard-earned money to like
Hmm.
come to your show. So you just, appreciate that so much and want to give them, I think with these shows, it will be like a really intimate, um, chance to hear the record.
I also love when you see a headline show. I love the juxtaposition to when it's a big, full electric live band show and it's big, and then I like it when it comes down to maybe you and an acoustic guitar or piano or
Mm.
whatever, and you get to tell a few stories as well and slow it all down. I really like that side as well.
Yeah, it's kind of like more of a conversation,
Yeah,
I'd say.
yeah,
Having, playing these shows as opposed to a festival
yeah.
where there's a lot more yelling and not yelling, don't yell at people,
Yell
but
at people. Have fun
yeah.
now.
um you kind of, trying to raise up over the noise, but when it's all quiet and like I loved all those MTV Unplugged
Oh,
performances. They're like the best,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
We definitely miss stuff like that. When you play "Sweet About Me," does it still feel like it's your song, or do you feel like you're borrowing it from the younger version of yourself?
Oh, that's interesting. I think it's still my song. We've actually got a new version of that,
Ah,
which
that was
is
what I was going to
funny. Okay,
ask.
because I was really against this because, I've been to gigs and seen artists, play around with
They're big
the
hit.
song, and you listen to it and you're like, oh, I'm not sure. But I do understand the need to want to change it up. And I was kind of against it until, we went to back to Middle Farm to record some live sessions, and the piano player kind of had this idea, and I was like, no, no. And then I kind of started singing over it, and I thought, there's something in this. So we kind of I recorded it there and then on the spot, and it turned out really, really well. I really love it. It's hard when you've heard something the same way so many times to change it up,
Yeah,
but this works. This works.
I like
Um,
that. I like that.
yeah.
I really think, like you say, in this day and age, it's different to what it was 30 years ago. But in this day and age, if people want to listen to "Sweet About Me," they can stream it, YouTube it, they can do it wherever they want. But when I come and see you live, I want that special experience that I'm not really going to get anywhere else. So I really like that.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'm glad. Um, yeah, and I guess your own shows allow you to kind of play around with arrangements and that kind of thing, which is great. So
Exactly. If you can't do it on your own headline show, when can you do it?
exactly, exactly.
Now, obviously, the last time we spoke, I asked you about children's TV and your favorite songs. We
hmm
had the whole Pugwall discussion, so I'm going to avoid that completely, and I'm going to finish on something a little bit different. And I'm going to ask you if you could remove one chore, one household chore for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh, there's actually too many to come to mind. Um, I really don't like vacuuming or, you know, yeah, I don't like vacuuming. It's become a bit different because I've moved into a more kind of like country area. It's basically like the UK bush,
Yep.
but we have spiders, bugs. We had an
Mhm.
infestation of wasps and all these things, and I just when I vacuum, I'm constantly fighting with myself. I'm like, I don't want to suck up that spider, and then I have to go take the spider out, and then there's all these like questions. I don't know. This animal, it's alive. You don't want. Yeah,
I
I think I would get rid of that.
I definitely find that in the country, it's more like a house share, isn't it? You're sharing your house with lots of other creatures.
Exactly. Yeah. And they were here first. So what can I,
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you for letting me live with you. I do appreciate
Yes,
it.
exactly. I tell the wasps that I'm like, no, seriously, you need to leave.
Now,
Yeah.
before I let you go, the album is out on October the 9th. When somebody hears Pure Love from beginning to end for the first time, what do you hope that they understand about Gabriella Cilmi in 2026 that perhaps they didn't know before?
Ooh, I hope they understand, that I hope they feel empowered by it, and I hope that they can see the kind of, how, we all go through seasons, and that, sometimes when you're feeling down, you're feeling down and out, and then you have that power within you to kind of pull yourself out with the help of a village normally. But it all kind of starts with you, and maybe it'll inspire them to connect with that their inner child, or that spark that they had. Maybe they lost their passion for something, and maybe they can rekindle that and be inspired to rekindle that through listening to the record. Maybe. I mean, that sounds like it's a big thing, but and also I just want them to enjoy it.
Well, no, I'm really like I say, I love what I've heard so far. I'm looking forward to hearing the full album, so I'm very, very excited about that. Gabriella, thank you so much for talking to me. I really, really do appreciate it. Best of luck with the new album, and we will keep playing your music.
Oh, thanks, Paul. Thank you.